I have over 1,000 photographs to choose from and over 500 boxes of artifacts to try and choose from. So I think I narrowed it down to some of the better stuff. I probably could, next time you come see my talk again, they'll probably be totally different artifacts and things. But this is one of the first times too, after 2 years, we're finally able to start talking about the artifacts. We spent the last year just cataloging them and putting them in acid-free boxes and getting them all ready to send off to a permanent curation facility. So this will be, I'll have some good, interesting things to talk about tonight. The NGA site is in the near north portion of St. Louis. It's where this red square is. It covers about 97 acres or 27 city blocks. It's located about a mile west of the Mississippi River and a mile north of Mill Creek Stream. So right away that kind of rings some bells to us because that's telling us that there may not be too many prehistoric here. It's pretty far from a water source. The St. Louis Mountain Group, though, is less than a mile away, so it's possible they could have used this area. But one of the first things you do with urban archaeology is that you need to do a very good archival review. And so you can see what's there, because if you walk the surface and look for remains, you're not going to see anything because it's buried by hundreds of years of people living in the city. So to find what was there in the past, you have to do a good archival review. And so that's what I'm going to go over first, is a little bit of the archival information. Here it is, the NGA tract. If you look underneath all the streets and look at the contour lines, one of the things you can see is that right here is a high bluff top. This is one of the highest portions of the Mississippi River bluff top, just outside of the project area. And then it slopes slightly towards the west to this little drainage right here that's known as dry branch. And it's interesting because this dry branch empties into a whole series of sinkholes that come out as springs down underneath the area. So it's kind of interesting, that whole creek, or this drainage system empties into these sinkholes. It's also located far in the prairie uplands. So it's, again, it's probably not very good for prehistoric, because prehistoric groups certainly use the prairies and there's resources to use, but forested areas are a lot better because they needed it for wood, or the wood to use for making houses and make tools and to fuel their fires. When you look at the earliest French residents of this area was located in one of the original common fields. The French settlers had a more equitable system than the Americans or the British. The Americans and the British, the person with the most land got the best farmland. With the French, they divided all the lands up equally, so each individual family got one of the strips. And we're located in one of those agricultural strips. So if they're using it for farmland, you might see evidence of the plows, maybe a broken plow or two, but not much more with the French going to be going on there. However, during the raid on St. Louis in 1780, the British and their Native American allies did catch some people out in these fields who were farming at the time and killed them. So it's possible you could have human parts or human remains from that period. So we certainly want to be careful of looking for those. This area wasn't really used until about 1850, and at that time, this new water reservoir was placed on that high point, just outside the project area. And they got the dirt and most of the stone from that from the NGA tract. In the 1850s and 1860s, developers bought the property and started to subdivide it into home lots and businesses. And this is the 1875 Compton and Dry maps. I remember a couple of years ago, I guess, the St. Louis Historical Museum here had a display of these. And what you can see is, again, the homes going in here. But you see that a number of, like this is a limestone quarry, this is a clay pit. After they built the reservoir, they continued to use the stone for homes in the area and to mine the clay to make bricks. In fact, this is a brick factory right here. And so, but they did start filling these in and start building homes in this area by the 1870s. And by the 1870s, there's so many people living here that they start to get some social institutions going on. For instance, some of the earliest residents were German immigrant families. And to serve that community, you get the Zion German Evangelistic Church that was built. And nearby you've got the Olivet Mission Baptist Church. And at the far southern end, not marked on any map, was the African American church and school. There was only 5 of them in St. Louis after the Civil War, and this is one of them. I really wanted to look at this one. There's a couple of African American families that live near that school and church. But for most of this area, it's mostly European-born people, or their children that are in the area. By the 1890s, they filled in all the clay pits and all the mines, and they built homes. So the whole area is covered by residences. The South end started to attract Irish immigrant families. And so to serve that community, you get St. Leo Catholic Church, Temperance Hall, and the school being built. Also, you get Howard School, that is for the public school. It was put where the Baptist church was at, and that's for children. Now, it was, at the time, most people only went to 8th grade. They didn't go to 12th grade like we think of. So it was only good for 1st through 8th grade. And then after 1880s and 1890s, they actually had a kindergarten. And then you get the Homeopathic Medical College that came into the area in the 1880s. This college is interesting because it's one of the few co-ed medical schools around at the time, where both men and women attended at the same time. In the 1870s, the board of directors tried to kick the women out because they thought it was too hard on their sensibilities to go to this medical college, and they should go to another facility. Well, the male students went on strike and refused to go to class. So they ended up reinstating the women, and it turned out that year the valedictorian was a woman. So it's one of the few medical colleges at the time that had male and females attending. Now, by 1909, the area is fully packed. Between 1900 and 1910 was the highest population levels living out in this area. They even had not only houses on the street, but they even had houses behind the houses near the alleyways as well. So they used almost every available spot they could in this area. And this maps are nice with these fire insurance maps because they tell you, what the building is made out of. It's brick. What the yellow is frame buildings. But it also tells you the more interesting things like these. The F stands for flats. This is where 2 of 6 families live at each one of these flats. And these are domestic homes. And those technically were where a family owned a house, but we found that in most of these, 2 to 4 families were living in a lot of these domestic dwellings as well. And then on the east and west sides of the area, you have the stores. So this is a grocery store, and it's right here. And you have other interesting facilities. Where the African American church was at school, that turned into bowling alleys later in time. After 1910, the populations gradually started to decline, and then went into drastic decline in the 1960s and 70s. And so most of the people moved out, and the homes remained vacant. And over the years, the city tore down the houses that were remaining vacant because they were a hazard to the community. They could fall on somebody, or somebody could get killed in them. So they started tearing down some of the vacant homes over the years. And so when we got out there, most of it was a vacant lands. There were people, however, still living there who were very upset, rightfully so, being moved for this NGA facility. So the St. Louis and the Army Corps and the NGA people did all that they could to placate their feelings. Now, when we first got this, we had an archaeology committee that made all the decisions. So if I decided to change strategy at all, I had to call the committee together and have a meeting about it. But so it was really useful because it really helped us, all to understand and to get a real good project here. We initially picked 17. Now you can't dig all 97 acres. I would love to, but it would take 100 years to dig 97 acres. So what you do is devise an excavation blocks, and you pick block locations based on different social institutions, based on different homes, based on businesses that are there, so that you can get a sample across the whole thing. We also wanted to scatter the blocks across the whole area because we were looking for prehistoric remains as well, so they could be anywhere out there. So we wanted to be sure to look for those. And I'd love to find it. St. Louis has prehistoric archaeology. Everybody always thinks that urban things, when you're in an urban area, it destroys everything beneath it. Not the case. It builds up over the years. So the prehistoric may be deeply buried. I know at the underneath Poplar Street Bridge, they found the original French remains of St. Louis, about 10 to 15 feet below the surface. So prehistoric is out there. It just takes somebody to find it, look for it first of all, and find it. And we were certainly looking for it here. Now we had some other things that guided where we could put excavation blocks. First of all, the green areas are what the city owned at the time of the archaeological investigations. So they did own several of those. So we put the blocks in areas that, the red blocks are where there's at least 1 or 2 tracts or more where the city did not own. And we hoped eventually they would be able to own it and for us to be able to dig those sites. And some of them they did, some of them they never did by the time we finished. And then in urban archaeology, something nobody ever thinks about is environmental issues. When in the past, people played with some pretty nasty chemicals. For instance, where the Thomas Eagleton courthouse is at, that was a white paint factory. Well, what do you use to make white paint? Lead. They had severe lead contamination underneath that courthouse. So when we did the archaeological investigations there, we were only able to get far shots on some of them because they were so highly lead contaminated, and then excavated other portions that were intact. So that's why we want to be careful of this. And so the city had an environmental study. Yellow areas are places that were determined by archival review to be a hazard. Now, out in the northeast corner, this block right here, that's where the African American church was at. So I asked the environmental person, how contaminated is it? Now, if you eat it or you roll in it when you get sick, or is it just an archival review? And if you actually tested it, it might not have anything. He just looked at me and said, no, you can't dig it. If you think archaeologists are hush-hush about archaeology sites, you should talk to an environmental person. They will tell you nothing. They just say, no. So we did get a chance to look at the African American school and church, unfortunately. In the end, we dug 16 excavation blocks. And the number one there was placed near to St. Leo's Catholic Church. This one was placed near the German church. This block was next to the Howard Public School, and this one was near a moving theater. There in 1890, 1900, there was a moving theater place here. So I thought that'd be real interesting to look at that. And it also had a saloon and a hall that you could rent. So they did all kinds of interesting things. And then this was a liver stable, but they also did undertaking on the side. So that's other interesting things. The rest of the blocks were just scattered, so we got different types of flats, different kind of domestic dwellings, and the different types of businesses. For instance, 23, where we started the excavations, that was where a drugstore had been at one time, as well as a number of flats. And this is what it looked like when we started. Now, we're not allowed to tear down homes or even a shed or a garage. So we had to just go around them. So that's why the excavation blocks don't look like nice, neat rectangles. They are, just where we could go around things. Now, you think of this when you think of archaeology, getting out your trowels and your toothpicks and digging away. Well, urban archaeology is a little different. We use a little bit bigger tools. And so some of these can be very deeply buried. So we used the backhoe. And as it turned out, we didn't have to worry too much at all because this brown black soil right there, that is where ground surface was at in 1850 and 1880. So it's only about 2 feet below, 2 to 3 feet below the surface. And so here we are. In fact, you got part of an ash pit that's placed into that soil. So we knew we didn't have to go too deep. Now, where we're standing right here, that is culturally sterile. There's no way anybody dug that soil. It would be too old for somebody to be living on that soil. So we knew we were pretty good here. We didn't have to dig real deep like we do in most places in St. Louis City. Oh, I'd be remiss if I didn't point out this building. That's where my great aunt lived from 1930 to 1970s. And she was quite a beer drinker. And her husband was Irish. She was German, her husband was Irish, and he drank a lot of beer too. So I really wanted to dig that place. Unfortunately, it's just across the street, out of our area. Now, when we got to the west end of the block, it was kind of interesting because we got a mixed soil going on there, all the way down to about 20 feet. And at the bottom was this bluish-gray soil. And boy, when you see that, you know you're in trouble. That's where water had sat, on the bottom of this pond, at the bottom of the pond at one time. And decaying vegetation has fallen in there. So even 150 years, 100 years later, it smells to high heaven to this day. It smells like it was just fresh. We knew there was this is where the block was at. We knew that there was a clay pit nearby, but the pictures did not show the clay pit going into this area, because I tried to avoid those when I was picking the blocks as well. Turns out the clay pit did go into this area, at least up to here. And almost every block we dug had a clay pit in it. So the clay pit was much more massive than this 1875 map showed. They were already, many of them were already filled in by that time. What we did first was to document buildings. You can see the foundations of buildings were exposed in here. So that's where we were just looking right at the edge of the drugstore there. And so we would expose these buildings. However, we did not, and we documented them, we mapped them and everything else, but we didn't dig those houses. Primarily because they all have basements. So first of all, any older remains have been destroyed when they built the basements. And even though these buildings could be, 1880s, 1850s, even or 1860s, we didn't bother digging them because they're torn down in the 1970s and 2000s. So what you find in them are televisions, lots of tires, and all kinds of other modern garbage. So it doesn't do any good to dig in. But we did use those to show us where we were at. So if we got a pit out here, we knew that was associated with the drugstore, for instance. So some of these pits we were able to actually tie into individual families. So we know who was dropping what garbage into these pits. Also, when they were tearing down the houses, they didn't have enough room in the cellars to dump all the remains, so they dug these extra trenches. And right here is where we're at this level, digging a feature, and then they dug this pit later on to tear down those, or earlier to tear down those houses. You see one of these big concrete blocks right there. And so that's destroyed any cultural remains that could have been at that location. These went down, those went down to bedrock in that case. Now there were some buildings we found that were torn down in historical times. This one had artifacts dating to the 1890s, 1900s. But it didn't look like a house, it just had a pure foundations for it. So it didn't have a permanent stone foundation. So we started working on it, and the first thing we ran across was this large walkway, brick walkway that was right next to it. So I thought, well, great, this might be a business. And a lot of these places had businesses near the alleys. I thought this might be a business. So we dug it in half. This is the remains of that building. It didn't have a cellar in it. It only had a wooden floor, which went across this area. And all this other, by the way, this other mixed soil that you see all the way down to that blue-gray stuff, this is all the clay pit that was filled in. So this is the remains of the building. And so this is what it looks like when we finish digging it. Well, it turns out it was a home. We found ceramics, we were getting bottles, even this bottle here, which is written in Russian. Unfortunately, it's an end of a Russian word. And for the life of us, we could not figure out what the word is. If anybody knows, that'd be good. Please let me know, because we're really interested. Somebody thought it said malt, but just couldn't find it anywhere. But it probably wasn't. In the 1900s, we did have some families from Russia, Jewish families from Russia moving into this area, some Italian families, and other people from Eastern Europe starting to move into the area. But predominantly throughout time, it was mostly German immigrants and Irish immigrants or their children. And then we got this building here, which was interesting, in that it didn't have a stone foundation, but it had upright cedar posts that was used to build this building. Pioneers laid their logs horizontally to build a log cabin. The French put their logs in vertically. And so you can see here the cedar posts that are there. And over time, they did put bricks around some of the posts to reinforce them. So this probably looked something like this house here. And you can see where all the cedar posts are. There was a little porch here and then a larger porch right here. And then right here, that's an outhouse. that the neighbors put in for this. Here's another outhouse that the other neighbors put in. So how would you like an outhouse right next to your home? So when we look at the map, it's also shown near the alley, not on the street. So we thought, wow, this really could be an early building. It's here before the street system's even in here. So this could be an early French house. So we got really excited. And then when you look at Company Drive, well, look at there. It's even showing vertical log posts on this house. So it really looked like a French house. We started digging it. The artifacts we found dated to 1930. Nothing older. Here's outside of it, 1930. Nothing older. We thought surely there must be an old pit here someplace. Nothing. Everything was 1930s, 1920s maybe. We did do a deed search on this. It's too many to do deed searches on everything, but we did do deed searches on this, and it turns out the German family had bought this property in 1867 from the developers and built the house here. So why they were building in the French style, I don't know, because even German log cabins are horizontal. So I don't know why they were building a French style house at this location. This is the St. Leo's Catholic Church. This was the heart of the protest. You can see all the protest signs still there. It became the heart of the protest because when they tore down St. Leo's Church, they left the cornerstone of the building. And the priest said that we wanted to be here for a permanent reminder of where this church was at and to be here for all time. Here's St. Leo's Church. You can see it was a Gothic style with buttressed walls. It's quite an impressive looking church. It held 1,000 people. And if they had it overflow, they could put in 200 more seats. And this was used for Sunday Mass. Daily Mass was held on the basement level below it, and parties and that kind of thing went on in the basement level. When we started digging it was interesting. You see how black the soil is and all these little white things? That's all artifacts. This is garbage. This whole area was covered in garbage. We said, wow, what's going on with these Irish Catholics? What's the matter? They're doing partying all the time or what? When we dug the German place, could not find an artifact. In fact, we found whole piles of debris, and it looks like this probably came from a store. We didn't even bother. There were so many of them, we couldn't even put them together. This is just a small sampling of them. But this is what the whole thing would have looked like if we had taken time to piece it together. So it's really interesting. The little piles probably came from a merchant in a crate roll on those. But it looks like what they did, they filled in this area with garbage to put in this church. This is where we were at, is where the original church was at. This was a temporary building they built until they could build this more impressive church next to it. And it stood until about 1900, but about 20 years. But we didn't find any evidence of it that we could tell. And here you see the buttresses. This is going all the way down to the bottom of the pond, the clay pit that was here. They talk about when they first put in this church, that bawdy boys would hang out in this and swim in this area and do all kinds of bad things while they were down there. So they put the church here and put it down the bottom of that clay pit. And you can kind of see here our favorite blue-gray soil down at the bottom here. And then all this, it's like over 10 feet tall, would have been the basement portion of this building. So it's very high. And then you can see all the layers of garbage and debris. But you can actually see wagon loads of where they were dropping things on this place. Now here is the buttressed walls of the church. But there's another wall that's built just outside of it. And this line is showing where the wall was at. And it turns out that we found evidence that there was an air passage that was down here, so that the lower level of the church could get air into it. And but there's a problem with that. They had a rail fence around it, but people would sit on that rail fence and sometimes fall over and into that because it was 10 feet deep. So there was people who were very seriously hurt, and one child who was killed when he fell down in there. So in 1932, when they did a renovation, they filled in that air passage. By that time, they had the temperance hall and they had the school, so they really didn't need to have parties and meetings down there anymore, and they no longer did weekly mass down there anymore. So they could fill in that air ventilation system. And this is some of the artifacts, these incredible things. We didn't bother collecting these, we just photographed them. You can see, though, after they quit using it, they started having troubles with other kind of critters. This is a rat trap that was marked 1942, several dates in 1942. Now, we were most interested with this place is pit features, the yard features, the yard places where people were done into the ground. People would use a yard feature for maybe 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and then they would fill it in with garbage from that time and then dig another pit. And so over time, you've got little time capsules that'll tell you how this community changed over time. And so we were very excited about looking at these pit features that are in the yard areas between the buildings. These are some of the oldest. These are pits that are on the bottom of the clay mine. And they're mostly square, some of them are rectangular shape. This is what one looks like excavated. And this is another one. I think these were used as temporary outhouses. And you can see lime that was tossed in here, probably to try and keep down the smells out of this thing. So I think these were used as temporary outhouses, and then they just moved it when they were digging in another area. They did have some artifacts that came from this. We did find some soda bottles, some liquor bottles, of course, and these kind of strange bottles. This is Hagen's Magnolia Blonde. It's for ladies' skin complexion. We're like, what's this doing in this pit? And then, this was even stranger, a Jameau dowel watch. Jameau and French baby dowels were the original American dowels. They had all kinds of fashion accessories you could buy, the latest fashions. They had all kinds of extra goods like this pocket watch that you could have for your dowel. It was supposed to teach girls good breeding and good grooming and that sort of thing. But they were very expensive. Only the wealthiest people could afford them. And we did know that some of the owners of the brick company and the stone quarry did live on the property. So it may be that one of them daughters dropped her dowel watch down out here. Now, in the 1860s, 70s, and 80s, when people started moving into this area, they had privies. And this is what a privy vault. And the earliest ones, well, not the earliest ones, but some of them are wood-lined. Everybody always assumes, the collectors always assume that the wood-lined privies are always the oldest, dates of 1800, mid-1800s. We find these all the way up to the 1880s, these wood-lined privies. And then you get some that are brick-lined. This is what it looks like. And then one that was taken out by looters, but they left the bottom of the pit, and it turned out great because there's all these seeds. That's oats. This is near that livery stable. So evidently somebody dropped a bag of oats in that area. And then we had two limestone-lined privies. Now the bottom of these privies are left open so that all the liquids go wash out into the ground. In Victorian idea, diseases were not spread by germs, they were spread by vapors. The smells of the privy would contaminate you. And so that's why in St. Louis they had ordinances against digging privies out. But you would use a privy not only for necessities, but you could also use it as a place to dump your trash. You don't have regular trash pickup. So you dump all your garbage into a privy, and then when it gets filled, you hire a privy digger to come and dig it out. They could only come out by ordinance at night. And, between, I think it was like 11 and 2 o'clock in the morning. And then they had to be off the property. And it couldn't work in the height of summer, because the summer heat, they afraid, would spread the vapors around. And then this is what was built above the privy vaults, an outhouse. So you got your little one-seater there. And this is from St. Louis, not from our property, but nearby. Now, they always put their privies at the back of the property, the furthest from your house. In fact, this is a privy for the drugstore, and it went right up against the back of the flats. So if you're the neighbor, you're not liking your neighbor's privies. In the 1870s, germ theory became known. And so after that time, they started developing other systems. They developed what's known as a water closet. A water closet basically is a privy, except it's lined by 2 courses of bricks, and even the bottom is lined by 2 courses of bricks, so that the liquids will not leak out to the soils and then contaminate your well water or your cistern water. And they're called water closets because you have a pipe leading from your drainage on your homes that would wash water into it, and then a lower pipe where all the liquid would flow out. Now they usually had a grate or a brick or something here so that just the liquids would seep out and not the solid waste or garbage that was in there, because you didn't want that plugging up the sewer lines. And here you can see, here's a water closet here, here's a water closet here, and then here's a sewer line going to the nearest street. And then the streets had large sewer lines, huge sewer lines, 10 to 20 feet sometimes in diameter. And so that would then take it, and where did it deposit it? In the local creeks. Yep. And so I was appalled to learn that St. Louis City did not have a sanitary system, a sewage system, until 1970. Until that time, all the water went straight to the creeks. So it makes you wonder when you're younger playing in the streets. That's what I think. Why that? Water closets were made all kinds. It was a new technology, so they developed all kinds of new ways of making. Some were oval shaped, like this one. Some were rectangular, some were square, some had rounded floors, some had slanted floors. Bigger institutional privies were longer, long rectangular ones. Like this is the one near the German church. Unfortunately, the one near the German church got taken out by a demolition trench when they tore down the church. They destroyed all but the bottom portion of it. And we look, we're like, great, we got something. We get something from this church. Dug it, hardly anything. Darn Germans, they're just too clean. And then this is the moving picture place. We did have a water closet that was behind it. We're like, great, dug it, and somebody had already beaten us to us. Looters had already taken it all. All we got's a corner with a few little objects. And then right here, there was another water closet that was associated with this large store complex. And that one was intact. And we did get all kinds of incredible artifacts out of there, including the Spanish galleon's doorstop. It stands about this tall, and it's believe me, it's heavy. So it was used as a doorstop. And this is what those privies would have looked like. They had several holes. In the 1920s, they did seal, that people started putting, we had enough money, they could put in indoor bathrooms, indoor toilets. And so then, and they got water in the area, so they could do that. So then they connected the inlet pipe with the outlet pipe, and so it would then go into the sewer system, and then from the sewer system into the creeks. This guy evidently was imaginative. He had to use bricks to make his pipe to connect. And then after this time, during the 1920s, some of them actually had outdoor toilets. And here you can see the remains of where outdoor toilets. This is a store, a grocery store, where they had it was a free toilet. Now, this place was right next to the water reservoir, and I thought, surely they got water early on. Well, as Mark Twain used to say, for St. Louis water, you could eat it better than you could drink it. And it was so, they did not develop a filtration system until just before the World's Fair. I mean, just before the World's Fair. They were really getting nervous they never did a good filtration system. And after that time, you start to see water systems being planted throughout the city. And so even if they had piped in water, you'd still want a cistern, which is what this is, that would run rainwater off your house through gutters and into these that would store it so that you could clean your homes and do your laundry. Now, these are well made. Oh, by the way, I didn't tell you, they make these with these beehive tops on them. These things are about 10 feet wide in diameter. You don't want a 10-foot wide hole in the back of your urban lot, which is probably about as big as these middle seats here. So you don't want a 10-foot hole in there for animals and your children to fall into. So they made these beehive things that were only about 8 feet at the top, and then you had a pump, or sometimes more often a pump, that you get water out of it. And they were well made. They just flipped right over. You couldn't even break those up or nothing. We started digging these like we did most of our futures, but then pretty soon we saw water is running out of these things. They're still holding water. And you don't want to be standing on something like that very long because you're going to end up in a drink. So we did use the backhoe to just take the dirt and spread it out. And so we were even able to find buttons and small things by doing that, but it was a safer way of doing it. Archaeologists are not crazy like some of the bottle collectors. We will not dig deep, we do not dig deep holes into these things. We cut them in half and dig big areas around them so that the walls will not collapse on us. I've seen pictures of collectors and they're down in a hole 10 foot deep with loose stones and everything, and it's like, are you kidding me? I'm surprised they're not all dead. It's amazing. But we use very safe OSHA standards when we're digging excavation logs. Most cisterns look like this one that you would expect to see, where you've got just a little bit of items that fell into it when it was open, and then most of these that we've done in the past were filled with dirt, because you don't want a big hole sitting there empty for a long period of time. Well, at the NGA tract, it was different in that most of them were used to dump garbage. And we got some of the best artifacts out of here, and because it had water in a lot of these, we even got wooden artifacts and even paper artifacts out of here. So it turned out to be a big benefit that they did use these for dumping their garbage. We found this one here, which was made out of a top that was made out of rock that was still visible on the surface. And it wasn't no longer at ground level, but it was placed above ground level. And we dug it in half, and lo and behold, there's nothing underneath it. It was probably one of those tops that when they did demolition in the area, they just flipped the top over to the side and just left it there. So it's sort of like what we were doing. And so it's just there and there's nothing underneath it. You also get barrel systems, which are very interesting because I haven't heard about those since colonial period, where you use a barrel like this to hold water. Half of it underground, half of it above ground. You don't think in late 1800s they would want that because that doesn't hold a whole lot of water. But in this one block, we had 3 barrel cisterns at that one location. So I don't know if it was some place in Germany where they had used this sort of thing early on and they started using it or what. So we still need to do some research into that. It was kind of interesting. And then you have wells. Everybody doesn't have a well where you get your drinking water and your cooking water. Instead, only about 5 wells existed in the whole area, and so we dug. And so what you do is a whole series of city blocks would walk to this well location, get your water, and carry it back to your homes for drinking water. And these things are incredible. They're about 3 feet wide, 4 feet wide at the most, and dug down 20 to 30 feet. There's somebody who's digging that. This guy here even went through bedrock when he got to the bottom of it. And then they have to line this whole thing with limestone blocks. It's incredible to me that anybody could do a job like that. But this is what a typical block area looks like. You've got your privies here that are normally in the back of the blocks. Water closets by law had to be set away from the back end of the block because they didn't want somebody smelling the smells of your neighbors when they out. So when they developed water closets, they started doing that. And then the blue things are where cisterns are at, which you'd expect right near your gut, right where the gutters could run into. However, we had one block that looked like this. The black tarps are covering water closets and these are the cisterns. So they're placed in the middle of the block, and almost every one of them had a water closet right next to it. Now, granted, they're using double brick, but I'm not so certain that those double bricks didn't leak a little bit. Now, these are some of the artifacts that we found here. One prehistoric artifact from a sewer line. So it wasn't even a good context, but that's the only prehistoric artifact we found here, unfortunately. Didn't get my dream of being the first yet, but I'm going to be the first to find it, at least. The earliest artifacts dating to the 1850s, 1860s, it were these sponge wear patterns, where they would take a painted a cut sponge, dip them in paint, and use that to decorate the vessels. And that's sort of a fairly cheap way of doing it. And then you get these, what's known as sprig and twig, where you get these floral designs that were used on plates that were painted. This is what one would look like. We did find this one. This is what the whole would look like. And then you get more expensive copper lusterware patterns that were being used. That started about 1850s. And this is probably the most common artifact that you find at any historic site, early to mid-1800s in St. Louis region. We dug at Nathan Boone's home where Daniel Boone lived, and this is the type of plates he was eating off of. Not pewter plates, as everybody always assumes. It's the latest English china wares. And the shell-edge pattern is one of by far the most popular. Until about 1850, 1860, and then it drops out. And then, also during early to mid-1800s, you get these transfer plates. They used, like a printing press using paper, they learned how to do that on patterns so that you could decorate, have whole sets of plates with the same kind of pattern on them. So you can get matching sets. If you break a cup, you go buy another matching cup for it. And so, but they were highly ornate, all kinds of scenic versions, views on them. You can have a Chinese scenery or American scenery or all kinds of things. They're just really beautiful. However, in 1850, 1860, this is the plates people were using until the 1880s, until after that. Just pure white plates. And everybody was assumed, well, that's because these people were poor. They were working class families, they couldn't afford it. But no, even the wealthy preferred these plates. In fact, the wealthy changed over to these plates sooner than the poor people did. And the reason is Victorian ideas. Victorian ideas is that your environment can affect not only your wealth, your health, but also your mental abilities. So this guy here who works hard and leads a clean living goes through life fairly wealthy and well. This guy, however, hangs out in smoky pool halls and he drinks and he does other things, gambles, and that's what happens. It not only affects his health, it affects his mental, or his physical appearance, it affects his mental abilities, and ultimately it affects his morality. So Victorians didn't want these kind of polluting things around them. So when they had plates, they wanted a plate to reflect the wholesomeness, the purity of the food. If you had a highly decorated plate, you could hide tainted foods, spoiled foods in there. And so they didn't want that. So they preferred just these plain white plates until during this time. And then in the 1880s, they did start going back to using decorative plates. However, at that time, they're starting to use more of just a floral scene, and they're not using like the whole plate being decorated, but just portions, small portions of the plate being decorated. And then in the 1890s, they started adding gold to their plates, so they could look more expensive. One of the things going on at this time, it's interesting because if you look at rural areas, they're still using pure white plates all the way up to 1920s, 1930s. But in a rural area, you're living with your friends and relatives. So if you start getting fancy plates like this, you look like you're being too uppity, that you're too good for. But these people are moving from their places where they have community to the city as a lone family. They don't have friends. They don't have the support system. So there, they start using plates to reflect their social standing and show everybody how well off they were. Even though they were working class families, probably only making $1 or $2 a week, they would spend their expendable income to buy these plates, just to show how well off they were. The wealthy got into this this competitive dining even more, where one person would throw a party with clams and all kinds of exotic foods, and then the guests were expected to do an even bigger party with more exotic foods. So you see this as really being a real interesting time during the Victorian era. You have these social competition. And it even goes down to the working class families where they're doing this. Now in the 1930s, I have to point this out. This is a salmon plate. And that was found by the drugstore. So you can see this guy like fish. But the others we found a number of these bluebirds. And it turns out that in 1909, and 1909, there was a fairy tale written about the bluebird of happiness. And in 1934, it became a popular song. And this is the last two verses of the song, stanzas of the song. And you can see where it's the height of depression in 1934. So it tells you, don't worry about it, you'll be no good. Just look to the skies and look to the bluebird of happiness and everything will be fine. So you can see that these were real popular, especially at this site, among the people. Then you get children's plate. Children's plate shows children at play, or it would show moral scene, or it would show nursery rhymes, or it would tell moral tales, or family closeness. Like this one here is a mother gazing at her daughter, and underneath it is written, "Mother and daughter, dear to each, with a love surpassing speech." This one is showing two girls coming out of a school, and they've got their grandmammy's umbrella, as it says on the plate. And what it's showing is that grandmother's umbrella is protecting her grandchildren as they come out of school. All the other school children are huddling in the back of the school and can't get out because of the heavy rain. So again, it just reflects the closeness, the social ties that Victorians really like to stress in many ways. Now you get your plates, and you got your models. You have models, beautiful models, read on some of the early stuff in the 1890s, 1900. This is a calendar plate. And one of the things that started off in the 1800s, the English had a corner on the ceramic market. Even when the Americans were fighting during the Revolutionary War and the War of 1812 especially, the English ceramic manufacturers were going bonkers because they couldn't sell to the American customers. So they started doing pictures of Yankee Doodle kicking the British butts and all kinds of things, trying to encourage the Americans to keep buying their ceramics and to get by, especially after the war. And but throughout the 1800s, the English had a corner on the market. So about 1880s, the Americans start to take over. And they are to take over for the first time from the British. And you can see that reflected here in the numbers of artifacts we're finding. These are British, this is a German, but these are British manufacturer's marks. The earlier manufacturer marks by the Americans were made to imitate the British, because they wanted to fool the American public that they were getting American goods. They weren't getting low-class American goods, they were getting English goods. And oftentimes they're marketed as warranted. So that you're trying to press even more that you can trust this. This is a real English market. It's not American. No. Oh, and they even marked some of the fancy French porcelains, even though they weren't French, they weren't porcelains. But they put those kind of marks on the bottom of the plate. Then in the 1890s, 1900, you do see the Americans then taking over the market, and then they start advertising markets of their own with the American Eagle, a Federal Shield, or even the states or the city that this is manufactured in. Homer Laughlin even went as far as they had the British lion on his back with the American Eagle pecking on him. You look at the Sears Roebuck from 1897, and it's advertising that this is genuine English goods, not second or first-rate American goods. But by 1902, they're advertising American goods. It's American-made, made in Ohio. So by then, the Americans have cornered the market, and then everybody's finally coming out. Porcelains. You would think that these people were too poor to own tea sets. Everybody had tea sets. Fancy porcelain tea sets. And the reason is because tea was not just for drinking, but it was for socializing. If you had guests coming over, or your boss coming over, or your friends coming over, you wanted to have a proper tea set to greet them with and to socialize with. You see this very early on with the Americans, even like there again at Nathan Boone's home. Danny Boone's home, he had porcelain tea sets. Way out in the middle of this frontier, you'll find porcelain tea sets. And it's because, I think women were driving this, because it was very important that they socialize. Especially early on, you've got women living in these dark forests with these strange animals and strange people, the Native Americans, who they don't understand and know. What do they bring with them? They bring a little bit of the porcelain tea sets with them. That brings a little bit of a reminder of home. They don't have radios, they don't have televisions, and they don't really have too many newspapers. So that's a way of staying tied to your past. And it continues on into this time. And it even becomes part of Victorian ethics, where here's showing a tea party where the guests are tentatively listening to the host, and the servants serving the crumpets and tea, crumpets, I guess. And at the foot of the table is the daughter, her head down obediently, and the dog is with his head down in the same fashion. I'm sure they could probably display this in this house, because this was showing a moral tale of the good family and the good children. Now, you'd think that people could can foods and put them up, but most of the foods were commercially bought foods. And not too much of a reason, not an understanding of that, because these people didn't have gardens. However, they could go to the market and buy foods in bulk or fruit in bulk and can it. And you did see that they did do some of that. By the way, these are what whole canning jars look like. The white canning jar liners are meant to separate the zinc liner, zinc lid from the contents inside the jar. And then you have this one was a lightning fastener. And then you get crocks for storing bulk foods. And then you get mostly commercially produced foods. You get mustards, condiments, ketchups, pepper sauce. And here's one of the oldest condiments sold in the Americas, came from England. It's Lee and Perrin sauce. And pickles jars, olives, honey, all kinds of different jars and food-produced foods were being sold. Canned foods were being produced by this time as well. So most of these people, urban including the urban area, not surprising, they're buying commercially bought foods from the store instead of going to a market and canning their own foods. And then, strange things are happening with my crowd. Then you get, this is supposed to be alcoholic beverages. And you can see at this time, by the 1900s, mostly alcoholic beverages. And by this time, during the 1930s, mostly non-alcoholic, slightly more non-alcoholic. But remember, 1933 is when Prohibition ended. So part of that is what's going on. Some of the non-alcoholic things were milk. Milk was originally distributed in big barrels, and they would come around to your house and you'd get out your milk pail, and the guy would dip the milk into your milk pail, so you could have your milk. Well, they would skim the leaves and the buds off the top to get to the milk underneath it. But by the 1900s, you start to get pasteurized milk, and milk's being sold in bottles. So by 1910, 1920, that's what you get most of it. And then this is an infant bottle. It works, the early ones, from 1920. And then in the 1920s, they started producing these non-rolling type of bottles that have a nipple on it that looks more like a mother's breast that the children could use. Infant health was a real serious problem where mothers were not oftentimes able to give enough milk to their children. And so you see by the 1870s and 1880s, Mullen's milk and Horwitz had coming out and developing malted milks and infant formula so that the children could drink that as a supplement to their mother's milk and be healthy. And you see a number of those in this place. Soda bottles. Sodas were very thick bottles because carbonation was very interesting at those times. So you didn't want a real thick bottle because it would explode your sodas. But if you got a carbonated beverage, how do you keep the carbonation in? How do you keep the carbonation from the sealing out? So these were the two most popular, the lightning fastener and this push-down one. But in 1885 alone, all of these were patented at that year to try and find ways of holding in carbonation better. By the 1930s, 20s, and 30s, and especially after Prohibition, you see that soda manufacturers are becoming now sold where these were produced locally at first. By the 1920s and 30s, they're being produced nationally. And because of that, they want bottles that were shaped. So one person said, so that you could grab a bottle in the middle of a dark night and know that it was crushed and it wasn't some other kind of soda. So they had green bottles for 7-Up and the Hubble Squirt one for Coca-Colas and all those, so that they would have a distinctive pattern. And all these sodas were being sold internationally and nationally. And it became possible because they developed the crown cap in the 1890s. Now, the problem with the crown cap was initially, nobody knew how to open it. It's easy to open up a lightning fastener, but how do you open up this? So they came out from advertising campaign trying to convince people you can open these up easy. You can open up all kinds of different things. Liquor, not surprisingly, for the German community was mostly beer in this area. And these are some of the beer bottles. In the 1870s, 80s, they did learn that by using an amber-colored bottle, it would keep the sun rays from affecting the beer. Ultraviolet light would cause beer to get a skanky taste to it. So if it's had one of these clear bottles too long, you start to go bad real quickly. So by putting it in a brown bottle, it was a way to preserve it. But you still see clear bottles being used. In Europe, they were using green bottles, and these are all European beers that turned out at this site. So they did use different kind of bottles. One of the interesting things is they still liked their lightning fastener for beers. It was amazing. All the way up to the 1920s, 1930s, they were still using lightning fasteners and not crown caps as much. You might know what a widget is. The widget is a clay ball that's put in the bottom of the beer, and I think it's, again, it still has that, where you would, then when you poured your beer, it would cause it to foam and release the flavor of the beer. And children would break into it, though, and grab the widget and use it for marbles. There was an interesting feature we found near the moving picture place. This pit here is just a pit dug into the ground, and it was filled with bottles. Nothing but bottles in here. When we took it back and analyzed it, it turned out we found at least 3,063 beer bottles. Now, one thing that's interesting is that it's not all one kind of beer. It was Budweiser, it was Falstaff, you get some European beers in here, all kinds of different beers. So it wasn't a crate of beer dropped. 3,000, that'd be a lot of beers dropped. And you remember, that's just the number. We only counted the minimum number by counting the number of tops we had. So it could be even more than that. One of the other interesting things is that 1/3 of the bottles have a crown cap still in place on it. So they were never opened. They were broken. So we came up with two theories. One, they must have had one hell of a party, and a big riot broke out. Or I think probably what happened, before the end of Prohibition, the revenues caught a speakeasy at the moving picture place and came out here and broke all the beer bottles that they found in their place, along with a few liquor bottles. There were a few liquor bottles in here as well. So that's what I think might have happened, is that the revenues got hold of it. Most of the liquor bottles we found were flasks, which is not surprising, easy to carry a flask. So you can take it to work and whatever else you need. Not too many wine bottles. And it's interesting because Victorians had no problem with wine. They thought it was healthy to drink wine. You know, not in massive quantities, but certainly with a meal. In fact, you had to have the proper wine with each dinner course. So they had no problems with it. Yes, we didn't see too many wine bottles at this place. And I think it was just too expensive for the people to be able to afford. One of the ones, though, we did find a Virginia Dare bottle, which was from upstate New York. And that's about the 1870s, I believe, they started making wine. Until Prohibition, and at that time, Virginia Dare turned over to flavoring extracts. But after the war, after the Prohibition, they went back to making wine. And this is a 1940s advertisement. She's talking about that. So you can see this Virginia Dare bottle. And then Mariana. It's really interesting. This was a highly popular. All the greatest sports figures, the actors, the political figures, even the Pope advertised this. And everybody loved it. It was refreshing and it was good for you. You know, how many doctors say it's really good for you. Well, it turns out it's made out of Bordeaux wine and it's in the late, about 1900, so many people started copying this recipe that the producers of this wine put in 7.2 milligrams of cocaine. Oh. So it was quite refreshing. And then there's another celery cola. It sounds harmless enough, celery cola. So it's sold as exhilarating and refreshing. Well, it had cocaine and high levels of caffeine. Even Coca-Cola started out as a non-alcoholic alternative to the Mariani wines. And they quickly dropped cocaine and it later on. And then you get into patent medicines. And this is a real popular one with this, again, innocent sounding celery compound, and it cures everything. You know, you don't have to worry. Even your mother doesn't have to, your grandmother doesn't have to worry about this. It's good stuff. Patent medicines were commercially produced medicines that were sold nationally. And they were supposed to, they could relieve almost anything. This one had celery root, hops, and malt in it. Okay. But they also had coca and alcohol, 21%. So what the patent medicines did, let me go to the next one. This was before bear aspirin came along. By the way, did you know that bear aspirin was actually invented in Germany? And as part of the World War I war at the end of the war, the Germans had to give up their formula to bear aspirin, so they could be produced nationally after that time. But Capitan was an early headache medicine. And we found this bottle which had this paper in it. We're like, wow, this is cool. What interesting thing's going to be on it? It's a Capitan commercial. Somebody had cut it out. And it turns out Capitan has alcohol, caffeine, and antipyrine, which is a heart depressant. If you drink too much of this, it would kill you. And then there's the one-night cough syrup, which had chlorophyll. So most of these patent medicines were really meant to make you forget about your sick, that you're sick, and really didn't cure anything. And that's why in 1906, the Federal Drug Administration got into this and passed laws for pure foods and drugs, requiring that they, first of all, put the labels of what their ingredients were. And second of all, that they kind of, went after some of these more harmful drugs for people. Like this one, Ketidine, they prosecuted quite a bit to try to get them to stop selling their drugs. But there's one medicine that was sold all the way up to the 1970s, even though it had high levels of, I forgot what it was, morphine or something in it. And it was just amazing how great it was sold. But patent medicines, here in the 1800s, 1900s, were predominant, where prescription medicines from drugstores that you got from doctors made up only a small percentage. But by the 1920s and 30s, you see it change around. By that time, people didn't trust doctors in the 1800s. In fact, more people said if you went to a hospital in 1900, you'd probably get more likely to be sick than be cured. And so most people didn't want to go to the hospital. But by the 1920s and 30s, the medical industry got its act together. The doctors became more trusted, hospitals became more trusted, and then the Food and Drug Administration got into the act, get rid of these drugs. And so after that time, we see that these going on. And then you get this one here, which is homeopathic medicines, where if you take mercury or lead in small quantities, then what it's supposed to do, if you took small quantities of lead, then you wouldn't get lead poisoning. You can take it in a small amount in your body, it builds up antibodies to it, and then other types of diseases as well. The problem with lead is it builds up in your system, it doesn't dissipate when you take it. So there's mercury, lead, all these other things that you take with these homeopathic medicines, opiums in there. And then there's some personal object, shoes, quite a bit of shoes. Roller skates, we got a couple of roller skates. And dolls, of course. I'm not even putting up marbles. We got so many marbles. In fact, we had one glass jar that was filled with marbles that somebody had dropped in there, I assume by accident, and not by some boy. But dolls, the early dolls looked more like women. But by the 1990s, the German bisque dolls came along, which looked more like the baby dolls. And look at this part up here. When you're digging in the ground, and all of a sudden, what you run across is what kind of rocks. It always freaks. I have nightmares about this still. So it's one of those things. Those glass eyes really are freaky. Some of these dolls are interesting too. So we had one that had pointed teeth. It's like really strange looking dolls. And then other kind of toys, guns, of course. This is a monkey that would roll along the ground, his arms would swing around. You've heard of a piggy bank? Well, this is an elephant bank, a trunk, and then more different types of dolls. And then some more personal goods, like Colmate, the guy with the fish plate, he's got a personalized shaving on it, and he's showing fishing on it. So you can see that Colmate, the drugstore dealer, must have really liked fishing. And then you get these opera glasses that were covered in mother of pearl. So those weren't cheap. Those were fairly expensive opera glasses. They could have used that for Muni Opera or other places as well. But, this would be cheap. And the woman that had this was a widow of a business owner that used to be out in this area. And she now operated a flat and had several families living there. And then everybody's favorite, the 1915 American League and National League baseball schedule. The Cardinals down here. It tells you who they're playing, each team, and where. And then World's Fair plates. This was the most popular World's Fair souvenir, which has a festival hall and Cascade Gardens in it. Here's this glass. We found that at several other features. And then you get this cups and a boot from the World's Fair, which has a Cascade Gardens on it. And then this object here. It's a Catholic ring. This is what, it's kind of hard to see, it's so corroded, but this is what is on it. This was found right next to a Trojan fountain. So I'd really like to know the story of this one, but really, it's the objects that are interesting. But to me, the objects, it's the story of the people that is much more fascinating, and it's better than any Hollywood movie or any novel that you can come up with. There's so many interesting facets of people's lives here in St. Louis that we are just starting to touch the surface. I mean, you think by 1900s, 1920s, we got movies even from that time, you know, and pictures. Why do we need to study that time? But there's so much that we really don't understand about people's day-to-day lives, their day-to-day existence. And so by doing these things, we learn what their lives are like. You know, I was laughing when I was doing this work. We were reading all these, we were doing drugs that day, so we had all these morphines and all this stuff. And it's like, I was like, boy, how naive were those people those days, you know, getting all these silly things. And then I'm going home and I say, well, here, take Viagra, and it'll cure this, and here, take this, and it'll cure your alcoholism, and here, take this, and you won't have to worry about heart disease. And it's like, oh, geez. So I guess we haven't really advanced that much. But really, the beginnings of the consumer age that we're in today, you know, the advertising and everything else, starts at this time. So by understanding these kind of things, gives us a better understanding of who we are today and some of our products. And really, you know, like the bluebird of life, bluebird of happiness thing, it does kind of give us some hope for our future as well. As we can see some of these things, these impressive things, you know, digging a well 30 feet down into the ground with just a shovel and a hit, you know, it's incredible. And yet people were able to do these kinds of things and to survive. And to learn what people's lives are like is what's so fascinating about doing archaeology. Okay, well, thank you.